someone said, my mom just made something. Okay. My mom just said something that made me really sad. I told her about how my other friend with epilepsy has been kind of pulling away and then admitted she feels overwhelmed by my epilepsy stuff, didn't tell me for months. To be honest, I lost a lot of friends when my epilepsy got bad. Like, I don't have that many friends, and my mom was like, I think you should stop talking about your epilepsy with anyone but family. I'm like, you want me to be silent about my disability? It kind of made me want to disappear. LOL. My great epilepsy is just a burden to everyone in my life. I'm sorry, I can't fake a smile, pretend my disability doesn't affect every aspect of my life. Thank you for your thoughts, everyone. And then, yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a difficult decision, whether to keep it to yourself or I do remember uh, many years ago losing friends myself. Uh, Once again, it's difficult to remember whether it was me or just times changing or people naturally just disappearing on their own. But yeah, I definitely lost many friends.
Lost a couple.
Yeah, it's difficult. But
I understand
whether
that's
to
like,
tell,
you need space. All right.
yeah, whether to tell people on your own, volition that um, I think, yeah, I think if it feels right, I mean, if it's necessary because of your own health, that's definitely something you have to do.
Someone said, I know that you're talking about my epilepsy. I know that talking about epilepsy freaks out most people. They don't want to think about that one day they might wake up and suddenly they can't control what their body does without expensive medical treatment. Plus, it reminds them that they are mortal. I have had epilepsy for 40 years now. Not everyone gets to know about it. Out in the wild, if someone brings it up out of the blue, I'm happy to mention I have it and offer help and support. Most people are kind of selfish. They don't want to know if you're worried about having a seizure. They just want to go out and party, or their friend used to always drive. You have a role in your friendship group. If you change your mind, role people don't know what to do. Also, in their defense, it can be very tiring to hear about someone going through our type of medical trauma. We can take too much without thinking it. The group plans to go out for a second month in a row. No, it's not going to happen because the epileptic got stressed out and has a seizure. Having epilepsy shows you chose who are the real ride or die friends who just not around for good times. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I
It says, is it okay for me to get mad? My family was talking about epilepsy the other day, and my aunt suddenly said, it's all because those phones. And I got mad at her for blaming all the suffering I went through on my phone. Is it a valid reason to get mad, or is it an actual fact? Oh, you can get mad. That's valid.
yeah, of course.
Definitely
Yeah, I mean,
valid.
yeah, of course. Yeah, you're of course you have to have those range of feelings. That's
Yeah, I gotta
definitely
let her know
natural.
right
Yeah,
there. She must
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Somebody said, you're valid to be angry at your aunt's ignorance. Ask her what she thinks was causing seizures before phones existed. Would love to hear her answer. Oh, yeah, me too. And then someone said also, then why is every other smartphone user not having seizures?
Yeah.
Someone said, let her have both barrels.
I know
Someone
there's
said,
always going to be
someone said it
people,
only
people
works when the phone
never
is on
understand.
vibrate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to ever get, people are never going to fully understand. I mean, that's, that's just people.
Says today we are nothing. I can't even begin to describe how disgusted I am with Trump's comments about disabilities, especially when it comes to epilepsy, the way he mocked people, the way he trivialized something as serious and life altering as epilepsy. It just beyond reprehensible. Epilepsy isn't a joke. It's not something to be laughed at or mimicked for cheap laughs. It's a real condition that millions of people live with every single day. And for him to treat it like some kind of punchline is not only offensive, but shows a complete lack of empathy and decency. It's disgusting. And it's a reminder of how little he seems to care about anyone who doesn't fit into his narrow, self serving, worldwide view. And someone says, you know who had epilepsy? James Madison, Theodore Roosevelt, and many others. Julius Caesar. Someone said, did he make the Caesar salad? And someone said he tossed it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I say, I'm gonna just ignore Trump
Which
and
part,
stuff like
the tossed Caesar salad? Because I'm still stuck on that.
yeah.
But yeah, the Trump thing, yeah. I'm just trying to ignore him at this point because it's been a long headache with him. So uh, I know what he is at this point. So it's not worth the headache.
Right.
He's you know I know, yeah, he's so offensive that I don't want to be political, but he's
I got
I
something
just
political. Someone
ignore him.
said not to be political. I don't
Yeah.
want to be political with this statement as it goes for presidents from both major political parties. The fact that insulin is constantly brought up to brought up as a cheering point when the price is lower irks me. I get insulin as expensive, but ideal AED costs more. While in college paying for tuition out of pocket, I was also paying $200 a month for epilepsy medication. Luckily, my parents had good insurance that I was under, or I was, or I would be paying 800 a month. I would love
Mm.
to see the U.S. president lower the cost of top name AEDs as we need to take these as much as diabetics need insulin. I remember that there was an AED neuro wanted to switch up my meds that would be actually over $1,000 a month. Luckily, I looked at the prices that Amazon Pharmacy has before he showed me those, and I don't need to go broke. I just get the AED to put in the spotlight. This is weird. The writing's all over the place to help lower the cost for us. Someone said we're supposed to have the right to life.
Yeah, I know. It it does seem unfair. And it is the price of drugs. I mean, um, we could do a whole show about that. The it affects not just us; it affects everyone in the country. The, the
Right.
cost of drugs. Yeah.
Sadly, there are people who fake epilepsy. I know people fake autism, OCD, and Tourette's, etc. For example, there are TikTokers who fake these to get clout. I recently found out people have fake seizures and deliberately went out of their way to trigger seizures for years. There have been many false reports of people who do this. It hurts to hear that this sort of scum exists. It makes doctors have to take an extra few steps, and paramedics also to ask more questions to the witnesses. Also, epilepsy is played out as a joke to many people, and everyone assumes you have to have the fear of flashing lights. Or this is not unique to epilepsy, the fact that people who went out of their way to potentially cause damage to their brain tried to trigger people. Yeah, that is crazy. I've seen some stuff on TikTok where people were trying to make their friends have seizures that had epilepsy, like flashing light run by them. Thought it was funny. Not funny. I don't have photosensitive seizures, but that's not funny for someone who possibly could.
Yeah, that's highly unfortunate. Yeah.
Those are not fun.
I generally stay away from TikTok myself. It's not my taste. I don't want to see stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not
that's
on social media much either.
no. But it's a sad thing to hear that people would be doing stuff like that. I just yeah, but in general, I try to stay away from the negative stuff. And if it ain't good for you, you know, uh, people are always going to be doing negative crap like that. So like I say, if it ain't good for your soul, you know, stay away from it.
Someone said, is there anything that you've accomplished while having epilepsy that makes you feel good?
Oh, that's good.
What I've accomplished while having epilepsy? Oh man, that's a good one.
Yeah. Um,
I have to come back to that.
yeah, let's come back to that because I'll write down some thoughts. I think we think about negative stuff so much that but I know there's positive things that I've done. Yeah.
Trying to think of something that I've accomplished that I'm proud of. Proud of starting this.
Mm. I know I've gotten some educational stuff done. Not hasn't been easy, we all um have gotten some IT certifications. Um, always look forward down to the road, what you can accomplish. That's I'm trying to get a job in IT. So I mean, always always set goals for yourself. That's what I could say. Yeah.
Someone, I'm reading something now. It says, my grandmother told me, well, you brought epilepsy upon yourself. Wow. My grandmother on my mother's side is a cruel woman. We can start there with the absolute fact that she has said horrible things to my mother, father, and my brother. She was emotionally and physically abusive growing up, racist as fuck. Think words like that belong in the jungle. But my mother, the middle child, if it matters, which I think it does, has always wanted a relationship with her. I also know there was always an inheritance matter there, as my grandfather worked a lot for and always wanted to pass on. Well, he died years ago, and my grandmother spent every cent. Regardless, I have always despised my grandmother for the treatment of my mother and family. Well, I have always been outspoken against her, and I was married a month ago. My wife is an immigrant, and I have a cluster of seizures, and she's a proud Trumper. I never called her after the wedding, which is considered a foxpaw in our family dynamic. No one from my family was at the wedding anyway. It was my wife, myself, and five friends. I was scolded for not calling her, but held my ground for a couple weeks until she started to call. I finally picked up, and she thought the reason I was not calling was due to my epilepsy worsening, even though I am seizure free since 2023. Wow. While I was cordial, I explained I didn't want to call and include her in my marriage or any part of my life as she supported the defunding of CDC and the increased disruption, degrade, degradation to immigrant policy. Well, we can skip how many reasons she thought the immigration process is a good thing, and when I explained how difficult and a nightmare it has become, she wanted to shift my epilepsy. She wanted to shift the conversation to my epilepsy. Her words, well, you did bring that upon yourself for smoking marijuana in college. I asked her, what do you mean? And she explained further how I could have avoided this. I then explained how I have a growth in my temporal lobe that is likely to cause for my temporal lobe epilepsy. Of course, she didn't know this, but quickly backstepped to saying that she didn't know that prior. I told her the damage was done, and I was disgusted with the fact that even if I had somehow brought this upon myself, that would even still have been a disgusting thing to say to their grandchild. She told me to be calm and sit down, and then had a conversation, walked away like she hung up. I have blocked her and told my immediate family what had happened and that I will be not speaking to her again and to never mention my life or name around her again. She was the last grandparent, and I now consider myself to not have any grandparents at all. My family accepted my request for now, and I simply need to vent. Thanks for reading. I miss my good grandparents that actually loved me, not the Southern Catholic racist Trump voting cruel woman. Wow, that's a lot of venting.
That's yeah, it's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, for someone to say you brought that upon yourself, then for the wife to even say it's because you smoked weed in college, that's crazy. Right? There's so much more things that people are sensitive for about saying, calling people fat, calling people just like stuff that they're sensitive to these days, but they're not looking at epilepsy like that. It's not offensive at all.
um, I I've never come across in my life someone who's told me that, but I and I wish I could. I'm very sympathetic towards you and empathetic. But I wish I could give you some constructive advice, but it just sounds. Um, I don't know what your situation is with this person, and I always say try not to burn any bridges, and always remain communicative with people because you don't get many unless there's some sort of abuse with these people. uh you don't get many people in your life, and yeah, always remain always keep lines open.
Yeah, someone said you got to find more people to communicate to and vent to.
Yeah.
That's a good
uh,
one. Got to have people to talk to.
yeah,
You can go crazy having no one to talk to.
it's tough to find people in life. I guess that's my point. And I know difficulties arise, but just always keep lines open. I guess that's my point.
Yeah. In the comments, someone said, if I've learned anything, it's that there is no point of trying to change others. Simply ignore and live your life. That old bag is not going to be around much longer. Don't let it affect you now. Hmm, I guess. Someone else said, your grandmother is an idiot. Tell her that your MD thinks it's genetic and coming from her line of the family. That's a funny one. I don't
Mm,
know how she would react. My doctor basically told me that she doesn't know what's wrong with me and that I should find God for help. Now I don't care who has what religion, but do not bring it into medicine. What in the hell does anyone else think? This is inappropriate and wild to say, or is it just me? No, it's very inappropriate.
I would be nervous there. If you know, I would never take a prescription for God. I would. Um, Nothing personal. I'm not saying you
Me
can't be
neither.
a religious person and a good doctor. I'm just saying if your doctor says you should find God as a solution, you know, maybe you should be finding another doctor.
Right. In the comments, let's see. Someone said your doctor should have their medical license revoked for that kind of bullshit. Right, I agree. If she's pushing religion on you and doesn't know for sure what your religious leanings are, she's being very unprofessional. And she's a quack. Mm, your doctor's a moron. If this is the case, I'd find another neurologist ASAP. People are saying report her. That's a good one too. Let's find the next topic. Epilepsy through undereducated eyes. This is a novel. The internet is dumb, and if you don't have education on the illness, don't comment like you know it all. While scrolling through Instagram, I come across a lady who's trying to figure out what is wrong with her after eating carbohydrates. Obviously in distress, having an all around rough time. They show a clip of her shaking on the couch, one covering her face. Someone comments good acting, and another lady comments talking about how it's obviously not a seizure because everyone knows that seizures involve posturing and eyes rolling in the back of your head, and you can't put your hands in your front of your face during a seizure. I kindly inform them both. I never comment on those videos, but I commented that you can both have tonic type seizures without tonic phase. You can have a seizure where you are aware and can do things like put your hands over your face. I said I wasn't trying to be rude, just hoping that one day seizures won't have to be seen as a movie type of seizures. And finished with maybe you're uneducated on seizures. Maybe you're a nurse. Maybe you have epilepsy. Maybe you love someone with epilepsy as someone who suffers. They aren't all the same. Did it fall on deaf ears? Most likely. Did the uneducated internet deserve my time? No, I took a L. Just a little Sunday morning rant. Feeling cranky today as I unpack to start my EMU stay tomorrow, but they'll probably kick me out since I don't have posturing or eyes rolling in the back of my head. Yeah, that was a novel. Great story. Someone said this rant was majestic and righteous. If there was better education on what seizures can look like, perhaps some of us might have better recognized what was going on when our first ones hit. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there should be much better education. And I don't know the point of or the stage of education right now in schools, but about all sorts of disabilities. That would be excellent. Uh, yeah, they should educate kids in grade school and high school, and they should let them know about not just epilepsy, but all sorts of disabilities. That would be excellent in my eyes. Yeah, because people obviously don't know about epilepsy, and there's a lot of miseducation.
Someone said, "Can you have a seizure from loud music?" I had a few focal seizures during a baseball game yesterday when the music was really loud. I was very overstimulated by all the sounds. This happened another time while I was at a concert. Does anyone else have seizures from loud music? Not that I can remember. I don't even remember focals, so I don't think so. Hmm.
Um, not not necessarily, but I do understand what he's talking about, or this person's talking about. Um, Overstimulation in general does affect me. It can bring on a lot of dizziness and confusion for me right now. You know, too much heat or too much a combination of things does affect me in that sort of way. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so in the comments, I see a few. Someone said, I've experienced this at a concert. I also start to get a little dizzy at work sometimes. I work in childcare. When all the children are screaming, I get dizzy sometimes. Mm, that's not
yeah.
a good
I'm
place to work.
thinking of my niece right now. When she was younger, she would. I had to like step away because just kids in general. They yeah. Uh, she would be yelling a lot. I had to leave the room because it was just a lot of uh, a lot of stimulation. I just had to step back. So that's just an example from my life. Yeah.
Someone said they use earplugs in various locations they go outside the house. It causes no extra brain stimulus.
That's a good idea.
Someone also said, yes, I've had a seizure that are triggered by loud music. And it triggers the music in my brain because it's the type of epilepsy I have. It's a type of reflex epilepsy. Someone said fire alarms are a nightmare for me. I've never had an issue with music, but loud piercing noises crush me. I can only imagine that is crazy. Found one that says jobs. I went back to being a waitress. I thought my other jobs were causing too much stress and anxiety, so I went back to a job I find fun. I'm finding out that it doesn't matter what job I'm in, I'm always going to find triggers for seizures. I had one last night at work. Basically, I'm getting at it. Basically, what I'm getting at is what do you all do for work if you're still actively having seizures? Not working isn't an option for me, so I really need to find something from home. I'm not walking distance to any other jobs. Does anyone have suggestions or advice or words of encouragement? To that, I can't work either. And it's not like things are across the street to work in, or I would still have to walk alone. I'm not going to have someone to walk me to work. So, yeah, everyone always tells me at home jobs are what I need to work on doing. But
Depending on your experience, I guess remote work would be just talking to anyone out there. Remote work would be good, or Um, when I did have seizures, they weren't as frequent. I did do retail work, in consumer uh or customer service. I did work at you know, cashier work was not too intense. Anything not too intense was fine, not too overstimulating. So um, something like that in that genre.
Yeah, I had a seizure at the cash register. I was a cashier, and they let me go back to work. But for some reason, I see people leave work for getting a finger out of socket, put it back in, and take the day off. When I had a seizure as cashier, she said, "You want to stay or you want to go?" I stayed for the
Yeah,
money, of course. But when I look back on it, it's not looked at the same. It's not a big deal to have a seizure, basically.
yeah,
I think that should change. I really do. Got to be the seizure awareness activist at the moment. Someone said, anyone else had this type of seizure and know what it is. I'm a 27-year-old female. I've had epilepsy since I was 12. I only recently got the official diagnosis of generalized epilepsy. At one point, I was having at least 4 TC per week with at least 6 absences per week. I was put on a new medication 2 years ago called Ficompa, along with my other meds, Lamictal and Brivacet, and clobazam. And the combination of these has reduced my seizures drastically over the course of the last 2 years. So only 2 tonic seizure per week at maximum, and only 1 or 2 absences here and there, which is why my neurologist is now increasing it. Since I increased 2 weeks ago, I've only had a seizure once within 2 weeks, but I've only chalked that one seizure up to the fact that I wasn't well the day before. I was a jitterbug 24 hours before, and I had to be sick nearly an hour after taking my morning meds, and ended up bringing my meds back up to which caused the seizure. But once I started Ficompa, I've had 2 of these weird types of seizures now. It's like I go into tonic-clonic, but I'm totally aware of what's happening. Been there before. I can see and remember everything so clearly, but I just have no control over my body convulsing. I'm aware that I'm gritting my teeth. I can feel the tears on my cheeks. I can see the TV moving, but obviously I can't pay attention as I was doing previous to the seizure. I've never had these type of seizures before. I started the Ficompa medication. Granted, this has only started happening twice over the 2 years, but when I go into tonic-clonic, I'm completely wiped out until the AM and disoriented. I'll be disoriented, talking nonsense, in denial, etc. After the fact, around an hour, whereas both these times I have been able to tell someone straight away. For example, my partner was in bed at the time, and I was able to tell him straight away. But these 2 times have really creeped me out, and I keep wondering what they are. I forgot to mention to my neurologist at the last appointment, and probably won't be talking to him again for another 3 years. This is in the UK, and I'm on a waiting list in North Ireland. Anyway, I don't know if it's specifically linked to medication or just getting older, but I was wondering if anyone has had these types of seizures before, and if they could tell me what types of seizures they are. Um, Been through that. Having a seizure where I can see as I'm having a seizure, like totally aware, I can see, I can't move, I can smell everything, but I just can't move. It's a tonic-clonic, and like you said, I can feel myself gritting my teeth, and yeah, I don't know what kind that is. I got to talk to someone about that. But that is a good question. You ever went through that?
Me?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I don't uh, have seizures where I know that I'm having them necessarily. Besides the R is building up to them. I mostly have just when I had them, they build in intensity, the myoclonics, and then I have the grand mal usually. Um, but I never actually know that I'm having the
Yeah.
tonic-clonics. No,
Sometimes, man. It's not every time. It's sometimes.
but what that was being described, I don't have that. No.
Yeah, okay. I see you use a comment that say, she said, you're having a partial complex seizure. Talk to your doctor about that. When I have
Uh,
them, my first action is to get up and run. I will talk about something that I'm dreaming about, and then if my fiance tells me to sit down, I will repeat to him several times. I have found myself shaving my legs, dancing in a table, opening a window repeatedly, trying to wash a stairway railing when I woke up. What you are describing definitely sounds like a partial complex, but you should consult your doctor. Hmm. Partial complex. I gotta talk about that next appointment. The response for that person says, thank you. I remember it so clearly because I was watching Harry Potter, and the next thing I was moving to laying sideways on my armchair, feeling my convulsions and stiffening, unable to move but convulsing and stiffening, seeing what was on the TV continue on, but couldn't focus on it, while also in tears on my cheek because I was so aware of it, but unable to do anything. Both times were so unlikely, the numerous seizures that I've had over years. I'll give my doctor a call on Wednesday when he's working. Really, thank you for that insight. And the other person responded, yes, that's why they're called partial complex, because you are partially aware. I mean, that's what I'm guessing. I'm not a doctor. I just played one on the internet, and it would be really bad if I were, because I have epilepsy. Nice. Someone to explain it because I needed an explanation for that too. You ever get the weird taste in your mouth?
I'm trying to think. It's been a while. Not until after the seizure. Weird taste of blood. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
graphic,
for
but
some reason, I know I had one, or I know I'm close to having one. I don't know the triggers, but for some reason, I'll get that metallic taste. So that is a sign for me. And then for some reason, I always need to go get something to drink or something sweet. Some reason, I always go find something to eat or drink that's sweet. Seems like
it,
that's the only thing that takes the metallic taste away.
I always needed a protein cram, like something fatty or like what were they called? The uh like those like those the they tasted awful. Uh, the microwavable meat sandwich bars. I don't know. I can't think of the name of them right now, but they always would stop seizures for some reason. But yeah, diet was a huge part of uh,
Some people don't understand how speech problems some people can have, because mine isn't exactly isn't exactly speech problems, but it's remembering what I'm about to say. So then I stop and say, I forgot what I was gonna say, and then I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say. So the speech problems aren't really speech problems. It's like I'm talking to you. I know what I'm gonna say in my head, and then I forget my next word, and I forget what that conversation is gonna be about.
Yeah. And then like 3 days later, and then I'm like, oh, that's the word. That's a damn word. And oh man, I feel so
And then I
silly.
gotta text you. Gotta text you. This is what I remembered from yesterday. This is why I stopped talking. But it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
But someone said I had a weird taste in my throat after a seizure. I had a seizure back towards the end of February, and since then, I've had weird tastes. Rich foods like meat taste horrible. I can taste that pretty normal in the front of my mouth, but when I swallow it, I get flavor and then it takes over the entire meal. It's made eating very unpleasant. I am constantly thinking about whether I taste it or if I will. I have gone completely vegetarian, hoping it'll go away, but nothing yet. Anyone had something similar? I'm taking the medication right now, so that might be the issue too. Someone said it sounds like the awful possible taste I get for sure, but I only get those the day of my seizure. That said, I have a lot of seizures, so I'm very accustomed. Maybe have a combo with your neuro. Mm. They said the day of a seizure, you get that taste. Like I was thinking, either I had one or something is coming. That's always what I think about it when I get that taste. Someone also said, I have nocturnal seizures, and after I wake up, I'm thirsty and dehydrated, but repulsed by any food or drinks for a few hours. I got that one time. I took my mom out to dinner for her birthday and ordered my food, and I told her, just eat. I'm not hungry. And I started getting clammy, um, started getting like light headaches and dizzy. So I was just like, just eat. I don't want to ruin your dinner. And yeah, we did that.
Mm.
Oh my. Someone said I'm banned from the mall for having a seizure. I am
Oh,
furious. That's crazy. I think that's lawsuit worthy.
that would sound like a lawsuit, actually. Americans with Disabilities Act. Yeah, I don't think you can ban someone for having a seizure. Yeah.
Right. Okay. He said, yesterday I was approached by mall security. I was told that I was banned for a year because I apparently threw a bottle in Kohl's bookstore last week. I don't recall really doing such a thing. They claimed it to have been on camera, yet they won't show me. Furthermore, I was at Kohl's bookstore the day before yesterday and was talking to an employee, getting them to see if they have a book in the store. Nothing was said about the books, so I don't get it. The only way I can see for security to be right is for it to have been due to a seizure. I have had incidents where I would do strange things like blackout seizures, turn off a movie while watching it, and leave it in the DVD player. I accidentally ripped off a towel rack in the bathroom during a blackout seizure. These both happened last year. Has anyone else had bizarre things happen? Blackout seizures? Yeah, I've ended up places I just wasn't supposed to end up. Left places and been in homes I wasn't supposed to be in, homes that weren't my home. Could have went so bad. He said, I cannot afford a lawyer to deal with this. So far, I haven't been charged with anything. At least I usually go to the mall because of the movie theater. I don't need it for anything else. I had bad experience in the past due to my seizures. They won't listen to the fact that I have epilepsy. Lawsuit. I'm sick and tired of being villainized because of my epilepsy. They refuse to listen to the fact that there's more than one type of seizure. Some people are accusing me of trespassing. I didn't trespass. I was not banned when it happened. Furthermore, pro bono lawyers do not exist here. I checked it. I get it. My role is to be a scapegoat. I'm always at fault. It sucks. I wasn't asking for advice. I was wondering if anyone else has blackout seizures. I'm sorry that you didn't understand my question. I understood. I have blackout seizures. Um, yeah. Tonic are my average, the usual. Yeah, that sucks. Someone said that's literally illegal discriminating. I'd take I'd take it to public TikTok or something. Yeah, it'll go viral. And someone said, yeah, TikTok's a good idea. Someone will see it. Someone said, I'm so sorry. I have also had a seizure in the
That's
mall before, right in the middle of GameStop. I get a little bit of anxiety, PTS whenever I go in there now, so I don't go very often. Hmm. You ever been back to somewhere that you had a seizure?
all the time.
Yeah,
I still live in the area that I've lived here for a long time, so yeah, like I've had seizures like right there, and I walk down the block um where I've had seizures, and yeah, so it's a little traumatic, like oh man, I had a seizure right there, you know, 15 years
yeah,
ago, on that date, it's very, very strange, I don't know. It was compared to, I don't know, the movie The Shining, you know, I don't know why, because that hotel had uh, just the Overview Motel had years and years of horrible things that happened. And I think, I don't know, I'm reliving this horrible thing that happens so many times in my house. If you can, I don't know if that's relatable or relatable metaphor, but yeah, that's what my house is like. My house is like the Motel.
I
I don't know.
always wondered what my seizure looked like because when I was cashier, I had it at the register. So like I've been to that register, been in line at
Mhm.
that register before, and I always wonder like, where did I fall? What does this look like?
Right. Yeah.
They wouldn't show me the footage.
Mhm.
Okay. Their loss. They got something else. Someone said, oh, that's too much to go through right now. Why do people downplay epilepsy so much? I was hanging out with my friend last night, smoking and having deep talks. At some point, she said that I'm making myself seem sicker than I am. Oh, that is the worst. That is, I hate people who say that. Actually, I don't use the word hate, but that you make yourself seem sicker than you are. That is crazy. Anyhow, I don't know how to explain this in English. It's not my first language. Okay, I understand. She said stuff like, there's people with worse conditions who can't live normal lives, and mine isn't bad, or how she didn't even notice I had epilepsy until I told her, and etc. Wow. I mean, it's not like I chose to have epilepsy, and it does affect my life a lot. She knows that I can't live normally. I lost my job, and I'm having trouble finding a new one. I can't drive, and I can't do all the things I like to do. like people my age driving specifically, without the risk of having a seizure. She said, I'm being influenced by doctors and others by listening to them. She also said that epilepsy isn't really a disability. Wow, almost laughing when she said it. There's a few other things, but I don't want to make this so much longer than it could be. Long story short, I wasn't exactly able to explain how I felt because I was too high. I really love her as a friend, but last night the convo just really bothered me. She made it sound like I was pretending or something. Sorry for the rant, but I don't know who else I'm supposed to talk to about this.
Mm.
Wow. I haven't had a doctor tell me that I'm acting worse than or making it seem worse. I haven't faked any side effects, so yeah. But that sucks for someone to say that. Like, not having a job is a big thing because having a job, you're gonna have to have someone drive you to work or take a bus. Taking a bus is dangerous, but you can't always have someone take you to work. So having a job and keeping a job is a thing.
Yeah.
Getting to work as an adult, having someone take you every day, taking an Uber isn't exactly safe because you're not with family or someone who's totally aware and educated about it.
Yeah.
Holding a job is difficult. I had a job where I walked 4 miles and I started at 2 in the morning. I left at 12 a.m. and I made it there at 1:50 a.m. Yeah, didn't have anybody who could take me to work those hours, so just got to do what I did, and that was my last job. Warehouse and wasn't supposed to be there. Fell, scars, yeah, stitches, bruising. Got past that, quit that job, moved on. Wow. Someone said, how bad is your memory loss? Sometimes I feel stupid. Don't feel stupid. Yesterday, I watched this new TV program. A famous singer in our country came to share the story of his past year. He told he switched jobs a year ago, went from working at a TV station to another one, and got loads of critics. He even stopped singing for a year because he didn't enjoy it anymore. All the headlines in the paper about how much more he earns. I could feel his pain, and you saw he was so sad and hurt, as if that's not really all that bad. His house burned down somewhere in the past few months, and I felt so bad for him. I was shocked. Life of epileptic. What I'm getting to, we watch the news every day, and I didn't remember anything about this. Nothing. His house burned down. It was all the news on social media, and felt like it was the first time I've heard about something like this. I didn't even remember he quit singing or switched jobs. I was talking to my boyfriend. Did you know this? Said to my boyfriend, wow, did you know this? And he said, when did this happen? And I saw him looking. We saw it all together on TV, but he's the best. He knows about my bad memory. He supports me and doesn't criticize, but still, I could see it in his eyes. He didn't know how to respond. Will this ever end? Will I get worse? I'm 28, and I've been having TLE since I was 15 years old. I feel stupid. Like I have dementia already or something. Won't even start about the memories when I'm with my family or friends. The memories come up, things I attended and don't remember, or friends I've lost because they said I'm not interested in them anymore because I forgot everything they tell me. I'm upset. I just like to be here talking to you. Wow. Yeah, Mo said talking to us makes him feels like he's not stupid. And I understand that. No one wants to feel like they're stupid, but It's hard to feel like you're normal, and
Yeah, well, it's relatable. We're all going through this. I mean, no, but you're not stupid. I'd say that
not
because
stupid.
I mean, we're all feeling this in the community. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm studying for certifications, and I look at things hundreds of times, and I cannot remember this, and it's so difficult, and I just cannot retain information. It's and I I empathize with you. I feel stupid. I just is it me? It's got to be me. Why can I
Yeah,
not
I understand what you
remember
mean.
these? It's
Isn't us?
yeah. I mean, no. It's nah.
Someone thought it was crazy when I said, I'm talking to you and I forgot what I was going to say as I'm talking. It's a hard
Yeah,
thing to explain. And yeah,
yeah.
I don't want to feel stupid. And
No, I mean, yeah.
sometimes it's just stupid people say stupid shit.
This is a frustration that we are all feeling. So,
Yeah. So I have another post. Someone said, I'm seriously considering just quitting my meds. Last time I was evaluated by a neurologist was in November, right before I had a major abdominal surgery. Typically, almost every seizure, almost after every surgery, I seize. Seems that my threshold is lowered by anesthesia. We made a plan where I would not take propofol. I might have been through this one already. I think I have. But quitting meds isn't good. And someone said, I understand that you want to quit the meds. I want to quit them all. You're not alone. Totally.
never quit meds. I mean, that's highly dangerous. I mean, yeah, you could severely hurt yourself with doing that. Yeah, quitting meds is very dangerous. You could,
What would you
yeah,
do if you didn't have epilepsy? What would you be doing right now? I wouldn't be here. Would
yeah. I think
not. Especially if I could drive. Wouldn't be here right now. Couldn't
mm,
imagine where I'd be.
yeah,
In traffic. That's
yeah.
what I'd be doing. Sitting in traffic.
Sitting on a beach somewhere. I know, but
Right. Actually in the water.
mm, mm,
Do you always call the paramedics?
what's that?
Did you always call the paramedics every time?
Paramedics? Nah. Um, that's usually someone else who calls I mean, I'm sick of I'm afraid of paramedics, and so I don't like dealing with them. So it's always someone else who calls them. Yeah. What about you? I mean, it's just
I
I
mean, I don't
assume.
always call them and I don't feel I always need them, but yeah. Do you know anybody in specific who's gonna call them every time? I know my sister, she's gonna call every time. If I have a
Uh,
seizure, she's calling.
like I mean,
Wake
the
up
first
with paramedics everywhere, asking me, do I remember the day? Nope. Same questions they ask every time. Do you know where you are? Nope. Remember what day it is? Do you know who she is? They've asked me, did I know who my mom was one time? And I think when I got it wrong, they took me to the hospital. Understandable.
that's the weird thing is they ask that question, and understand the words. It's not that I don't know who my mom is. It's I can't put the words together. You know, you know, it, it's such a you know coming out of a seizure is so disorienting. It's I can't. You know, it's just the brain needs time to heal itself. So yeah, it's a traumatic experience. I'll always say that, and just give me some space. You know, it's a
Right.
paramedic skill. Yeah,
Just need some space.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Needing space is big. I can remember a lot of times I just need some space. But steady asking questions, and they could just give me some space. That'll help also.
Yeah.
Someone said epilepsy stopped me from doing something dangerous and stupid. He said, I'm sitting here thinking if I didn't have epilepsy, I'd probably try to go into boxing or MMA. I probably would have gone into the Navy before and become a fighter pilot. I probably would have played ice hockey in college, or maybe I would have tried to become a race car driver. That sounds fun. These are all things I think about and say, man, I wish I could do those things, or it looks so much fun to be doing those things. Yeah. Oh, the sports and racing, like you said, racing is dope, man. If I could race and be going 100 and something right now,
I know it's tough. I mean, but you got to think about what you're going to do now. You know what it's tough to live in hindsight, and you gotta think about what you're gonna do with your life now, and because this is what we are. So what are you gonna do with your life now? You know, this is our
right,
situation, and we got to deal. So this is the reality of our situation. So
right.
yeah.
So I see someone else talking about memory. As always, they said people don't understand my memory loss. Whenever I go tell people that I have poor memory and explain it's due to epilepsy and meds 99% of the time, they'll say, OMG, no worries. I have a super bad memory too. Yeah, right. So you know what super bad memory is. Okay. Like, yes, I'm sure you do. And I get that. I may have put you in an awkward position and you are just trying to relate, but it isn't the same. And sometimes when I forget things, people sort of shame me. I feel you. It honestly makes me feel dumb and sad. How could you forget that? I've told you so many times. You don't remember that at all? Right. All those. Oh man. I can relate. Let's go on. Someone said, like, I just because I forgot, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It also doesn't mean I don't care about you. I promise. Just because you have bad memory, you're still my friend. Mm. The stupid stuff you say, I wouldn't be your friend.
Mm,
Let's see the comments. Someone said, I think people who say they have bad memory merely struggle to remember things, whereas us with epilepsy don't remember things at all. Like the information just don't exist. I don't know if you or others will agree, but that's how I feel. And I completely sympathize with you when you when non-epileptic folks are getting mad about it. I understand it can be a tiring, frustrating, having to repeat themselves all the time, but still, it's annoying for us too. And this, they seem like our struggle isn't something serious. Despite memory issues being annoying, I'm glad people relate to this. It makes me feel so much better and less stupid. A lot of people feel really stupid. It has to change. Another answer. Situations like that, situations like that are how I learned not to talk about my epilepsy to people. No one wants to hear it anyway, and they're never going to say anything that actually makes me feel better. It just puts everyone in the room in an awkward situation. Yeah, in certain situations, I don't feel like it's important to bring up, and then after a while, I start thinking maybe I should, and then I'm just in the middle on the fence about it, hoping I don't have one, so I don't have to say anything. Someone
It's
else
a tough
said,
call. I was thinking, yeah, it's a tough call to bring up. Yeah, it's very awkward. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's very understandable.
yeah, someone else said, this is so relatable. I'll forget directions to places I've been so many times. If I haven't been there in a while, I have memory gaps from something that happened 2 weeks ago. Also, of course, forgetting key memories from growing up. My twin sister does shame me for it, and it sucks. I also can't access information as quickly anymore. And I used to be way wittier. Explaining the memory stuff is getting tiring, just explaining it to people. Another person said, what I hate the most is when people say, you weren't listening, or you need to respect them enough to listen. Okay, I know it doesn't help that on top of my epilepsy, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I get distracted sometimes, but I do listen. When I ask people to repeat things, they get offended. But it's like retaining that information is a harder for people to realize when we have epilepsy. But to remember when people yell at you, they are projecting their bad feelings about themselves onto you. You're not a bad person. You're not stupid, but you're dealing with challenges that are beyond your control that most people are lucky to never experience. Right. Lucky to never experience.
Mm.
Earlier today, I kept wondering what to say when I was asking my mom to bring me the broom, but I forgot what to say, so I couldn't say broom, and I just said um um
Yeah,
um.
yeah, I know. I do that.
I've seen things like pop up on my screen, like notifications, and then I accidentally swipe left and then forget what app it was. So now I'm going through my apps one by one, trying to remember which one it was. And that's the craziest thing I've ever
Mhm.
went through on the phone wise. See what someone else said. I just wish I could read something as simple as a Wikipedia article and be able to quote it, even a day later for basic conversation. I love history, but I retain so little that having an educated opinion on anything is pretty tough sometimes. Right. I understand what you mean. Someone told me that, just like, you don't even remember what happened yesterday. How are you going to be talking about what's happening 2 weeks ago? And sometimes it be like that. Sometimes I remember a situation that happened 2 weeks ago and not remember what happened yesterday, or I do remember what happened yesterday. And yeah, some people just be like, oh no, I don't take your opinion.
Yeah.
Keep
It,
doing
it, it,
those.
it is difficult having to work twice as hard. It feels like, you know, you know, you know, with that memory gap. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Someone said recently my boyfriend's aunt said the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard. She said it's like talking to someone who has dementia. Wow. Ugh. I don't even have the words for things like that.
Mhm.
Someone said work is getting so hard for me with this. My boss looks at me like I'm stupid at first, and then she looks at me with grave concern, like, what's wrong with you? Oh, nothing is wrong with me, and neither of these are helpful. Neither of you are helpful. It's just what it is. I wish people weren't so scared or standoffish. There's nothing to be done. It's just our brain. Someone else said, maybe I'm oblivious and a dumbass when I could barely remember my local geography. I live in Hong Kong, for God's sake. Mm, that sucks, man. People don't understand. Things can be so much worse. They don't understand what we mean when we say so much worse.
Mhm.
Yeah. Myoclonic jerks. Hi, I'm new here as I'm going through checkups to find out what's going on. About a year ago, I started having these jerks in my legs and arms when I was awake. I thought nothing of it, but after a time, I began to experience jaw convulsions in my sleep. I couldn't wake up from it, but felt it in my dreams. I went to a neurologist and had an EEG. It showed epileptic activity in both sides of my brain. The doctor told me multiple things that it could be a side effect from sertraline I am taking, or that may be something I was not diagnosed with as a juvenile. Myoclonic epilepsy or non-epileptic seizures. I will visit my doctor after a few weeks as I have an MRI and sleep EEG to find out more. My MRI was clean. What makes me confused is the doctor already prescribed Keppra to me. Although we are not sure what causes these episodes, it is common. I am not taking the Keppra yet as I don't want to do it without a clear diagnosis. That'd be good then. Kepra's horrible. That I've heard so far. Also, citrulline not only causes myoclonus, but also abnormal EEG results. I will be sure to ask my psychiatrist and neurologist this. For now, I am at a loss and don't really understand why I should be taking Keppra if I don't know I even have epilepsy yet. Someone said, what is a normal EEG? Um, Hard to explain for me.
You don't know? We're not, I guess we're not doctors, but
Right.
well, we're not. So we can't, I guess, explain that.
Someone said, what do you do instead of driving? Every other thing I shouldn't be doing. Bus, Uber, train,
Yeah, that's
on foot.
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's
Can't
pretty
have
much
someone
what I
take
do.
me every time, especially someone that's family. So I'm doing everything to get everywhere, everything I'm not supposed to be doing. But hey, yeah. Someone said, I've been stuck inside for almost 10 years and I'm literally going insane. Oh, I know what you mean. Someone said, mostly cry. Not being able to drive sucks so much. It doesn't exactly make me cry, but I sympathize. Someone said, right now I take the bus. It's not very good where I live, so I walk wherever and whenever I can. That's cool. Someone says if you're in London, you can get a freedom pass so you can get travel for free within certain area. If I don't have that, I legit just go out of my mind being stuck indoors as I can't walk very well or very far anyway. Someone said I pay $20 to get a ride into town, $20 to get home. You have to include that in grocery bill. Someone says, I have a disability bus pass that gives me free public transit on a bus, train, and tram. It's actually really great. Really great.
Okay, good.
Still got to be without, still alone though. Have somebody there with a bus pass too. Someone says, my partner drives. That is the best thing. You can't have your partner drive you every day, everywhere, unless that person isn't working as well. Hey, some
I think
places
it's
are
important
different.
to get out though. You know, you got to get out of the house or else you will go insane. I mean, yeah, I think socializing and being out with other people, it's good for the memory and it's good for, that recall and you got to work your brain. So
Right. I try to get
at
out.
least, yeah, do something, it's good for your mind. Yeah.
Someone said, I live in Amsterdam, so I'm blessed. I can get anywhere I need to be with a bike or public transit.
That's interesting.
Someone said, I ride an electric unicycle. That is not safe.
Electric unicycle?
Yeah. Someone also said, I wake, bake, take the train. Wake, bake, take the train. Good for you.
Okay.
Next topic. Consuming marijuana. Hi, I'm writing this because I couldn't ask anyone else except Google. Where I didn't find it, they had a convincing answer. Currently, I'm taking medicine for my epilepsy. Valnego Chrono, 500 milligrams. Valnego Chrono? My question is, can I smoke or consume marijuana? I usually consume once in 2 weeks. I usually consume daily or bi-daily, every other day. You never know.
Uh, I haven't smoked in a very long time, but I once again, I don't. We're not doctors, and so yeah, I don't know. We can't tell you.
Someone said everybody is different. In general, you shouldn't consume drugs of any kind with meds. Some people smoke pot like it's nothing. Other people smoke it and get seizures. Yeah, let's see. I smoke weed every day, 3 to 5 bowls, to help manage my seizures and medication symptoms. Everyone's bodies are different. If you feel it will help you, then do it. Pepper and cannabis go hard, hand in hand for me. Pepper and cannabis. Pepper, you got to take it with something, not just take it with food. I smoke every day. However, I have a friend who is in the same boat and he can't even be in the same room. So there's that. I haven't met anyone who can't be around weed, but I've heard people who just don't like the smell or get out. Someone said, I bet you may get different opinions. I think it's best to ask your neurologist. My guess is they will say not to or do so at your own risk. I know with my daughter, her neurologist made it clear, no drugs, no alcohol.
I
But
haven't actually asked my neurologist, it never came up, but I know medical marijuana is legal in my state, Pennsylvania. So but, I don't know what the suggestion is for epileptics. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just bring it up next time I see her.
yeah,
Yeah, just to see, curiosity.
okay, here's one. Just the feeling like your head is falling asleep. Mm, pins and needles. Does anyone else have this? Before it starts, I get a feeling of wanting to withdraw and not wanting to do anything. Then I will make myself do something, and I get that feeling in my head of pins and needles, and it then leads to my shoulders and travels down. I don't get the pins and needles in the body that travels down. Um, I've got the feeling of like it's a weird thing to say. I guess ice in my veins when you get the chills and you just kind of
Yeah, I used to get that.
yeah, got ice in my veins.
Mhm.
Would you date someone with epilepsy? Definitely. That would be
Yeah.
the most understanding person in the world.
Mm.
Everything's relatable.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a camera to remember everything. But yeah, I would. Someone else said, I have a girlfriend with epilepsy. I'm just trying to understand everything. It's gonna be 5 months soon, and I really think she's the one. I'm gonna marry. I love her. She got epilepsy when she got her first period, so it's some hormone thing. Anyone else like this? Anyone else also can't have more than 2 grams of sugar a day? I feel so bad, so I'm trying to find things she might enjoy eating. It is expected for her to live this out the rest of her life.
Well,
Right. 2 grams,
congratulations on the relationship. That's good. I like to hear good stories. Um,
2 grams of
uh,
sugar being a problem. Uh,
yeah.
I have way more than 2 grams of sugar a day, so I would
Yeah. So do I.
I'll pray for her. I'll pray for him.
Uh,
Um, let's see the comments. Someone said, my husband knew on our first date, and our relationship has been very normal. He helps remind me to take my medicine, and we're expecting our first child. Be the hero of her story. Nice, nice. Be that hero.
mhm. Always good.
Some people always say they're afraid to have a child, which I understand.
Hmm.
Especially with the baby inside if you can't sit down the whole time, so something terrible could always happen.
Yeah.
Someone said you can expect a long life with epilepsy. The official term is catamenial epilepsy, and he said it's a term for hormone triggered epilepsy. So it's a female said that hormone triggered epilepsy,
Mm.
and then she said I have catamenial epilepsy. My husband tracks my periods just to be extra aware, especially since I can get forgetful and not see the signs. Okay. And ignore all the signs if I'm in seizure mode. And he started taking mental notes whenever I would complain about PMS symptoms, so he notices them now. That can be very personal boundaries. I cross, to cross, depending on your partner, but she may be open to it if coming from a good place. Best advice: to be the hero she needs, support her, not the hero that makes her feel good. She might appreciate a little monitoring or hypervigilance, or it might drive her nuts since epilepsy already comes with a lot of loss of independence and reliance on others. Communicate as much as possible. Sounds like you're already on a good path. He said she always gets ignored when I ask her about drinking water and stuff like that. Is ignored is most likely annoyed. And then the person said, "You mean annoyed?" And I can relate to that. Yeah, I can relate to that. You keep asking me, did I take my pills? Because sometimes I did, and sometimes I have an alarm on that might be snoozed, and sometimes you need a reminder, though. I just know it's all out of love, so never worry too much with it. It's always in my mind, like, damn, you keep asking me. And yeah. Is there a problem when you're dropping things? Does everybody come running?
Uh, yeah, they're always concerned. Uh, not so much recently, but yeah, I mean, people are. Um,
Yeah, I made a post about dropping things in the shower, and it got a lot of everything. So let's see. 10,000 views. Someone said all the time, not even just in the shower anymore. I think they can tell the sound of the soap slipping out of my hand. But any abnormal noise coming from the direction of the room I'm in gets a checkup. Whoa. Definitely
right.
used to go preemptively. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Someone said definitely used to preemptively call out that I was okay too before that. Nice. Someone said, I'm okay. I'm okay became a thing in my family when I was a toddler. It helped me develop epilepsy yet, but my mom, I hadn't developed epilepsy yet, but my mom had it, and we still yell out at the same time, "Are you okay?" Someone said, I got a husband, 3 kids, and I'm a total klutz. So I yell out, I'm fine several times a day. It can be taxing, but like you said, it comes from a place of love. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Everybody comes a running. Someone says, still happens, especially since I have heavy seizure once in the shower once upon a time. Bad memories for a lot of people. Though they should be able to hear the difference between shampoo bottle and me crashing into the ground. I'm 6'6" bear of a man, and frankly, if I come crashing down, it's a lot louder than my head and my shoulders than the shampoo hitting the ground. Someone said, I let out a groan yesterday because of my banking app. I was frustrated. They came running thinking I'd had a fit. Annoying, but understandable, I guess.
Yeah, I would
I made a
imagine.
weird
Yeah.
noise and they'd be like, hey, you all right in there? Yeah, made some weird noises and got that response. Definitely. Another one. Yes, if there's a delay in me responding to my wife or she hears a noise from the other room, she will come running and make sure I'm okay. Agreed that I know it's out of love, but I can't help feeling somewhat like a burden. I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, someone always got to feel like they're missing it out.
Mm.
Yeah. Someone said, yeah, I get that all the time, but then again, I'm too quiet also. Someone said, this is so my life. I know it's all out of love, but it sucks too. But I don't come and I whine. I just come and say, I love you. Okay. Someone said, absolutely. Not so much since it's been a few years since my last tonic clonic. They get PTSD, so it's understandable. Yeah, I could see some of my seizures being kind of traumatizing to have to see over and over.
Yeah.
I don't know who to blame, but hey.
I think my family knows the difference between the sound of a seizure and other stuff. Like they picked up the I don't know, they have like a sixth sense between, different noises and stuff like that. So I don't know. They just know the difference between different noises. So I
Yeah,
don't
I know
know.
what you mean.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the sound of different noises. Drop
Yeah.
something small, drop a sponge.
Yeah.
You're all right in there?
Yeah.
I think you guys' ears are too good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone said, oh my God, this is too funny. It happens to me so often. I need somebody home just to shower. Generally, my boyfriend, and he freaks out at any time he hears me drop anything. I'll shout out, I only drop the soap as fast as possible before he gets to the door. Did that. Once he gets to the door, he has the midazolam in hand. I guess that's something to put you to sleep, like that Narcan stuff I showed you.
All right.
Um, he runs with that. Being a clumsy person, it happens often, and at this point, we've just grown to laugh at it. Wallowing in my disability isn't going to help my health, mentally or physically. Gotcha. I found one that says like Mo. Mo said he smacks his mouth, and this person said I smack my mouth when having a seizure. So anytime I swallow oddly or make any type of atypical sound with my mouth, my husband and or son are alarmed and they holler, "Are you okay?" She said, then I have to tell them every time my spit just went down the wrong way. I feel you. So a whole lot of responses. Of course, everybody has somebody listening out when they're in the shower. So I'm just gonna go through all these. Someone said it happened, not too often though. Bump the shower wall, drop something. If the other person is more on edge and thinking about my past seizures, it will happen. Still occasionally happens, even though it's been years since I've had a seizure. It's just one of those things that have comes along with part of the package, right? Someone said just happened to me recently because my most recent hospitalization started from a fall on my face on the floor. So the other day when I was grabbing one of my 5 billion sauces that I love to use on my food, it fell, and I knew somebody would come running over eventually. So I stood there so awkwardly as I poured my sauce, and my husband peeked around the corner. In conclusion, he was confused from what he saw. It was funny to me, maybe not as funny to him though, with the fear that I put him in. It doesn't bother me too much. I know that everyone cares and that's why they do it. I do sometimes get annoyed when I get asked a billion times if I'm okay just because I'm a bit spacey, but I get it. It just sucks to be constantly observed. Yes, I know what you mean. Time when you feel like you're being constantly observed. Um, yeah, doesn't feel good. Watching every time I move or move my hand. Okay.
Good to know people care though, you know.
Yeah, just showing that they care. It's all
Yeah.
out of love. Someone said all the time and not just when I shower. A roast slid out of the freezer and hit the kitchen floor while I was trying to get something else. I
Oof.
guess the roast wanted to be cooked more. Someone said, aha, every time. I almost do a LOL sound so my hubby knows I'm good if I drop anything randomly, shower or anywhere else. I try not to judge or get annoyed given that I'm the one to have given him PTSD. But yes, sadly, I know the struggle. I know you do. Someone said something falls on the other end of the house and they come running to me sitting completely still on the floor, having not made a sound for hours, in a panic, and sometimes spend the rest of the day randomly checking to make sure I am okay still. I've had that, heard one noise and every noise after that. You all right
Mm.
in there?
Mm.
Someone said, this ain't even in the shower. I had 6 seizures on Thursday. Wow. And every day since, my girlfriend keeps looking over at me concerned because I'm still in my post-seizure state. So I'm still a little off and extremely anxious, but I don't like worry her or so much about what I'm going through. So I just kind of keep it to myself, but she's always looking over at me because I'll be a little quiet and won't finish the sentence. Plus, this is post-seizure state. It causes a lot of audible issues for the first time, but luckily I read into it and it's temporary. Finally let her know though, because it's probably not right to keep all your issues from your loved ones. Right. Loved ones, they gotta know.
Yeah.
Random friends and friends of friends and acquaintances, depends on where we're at. You don't have to know. Someone said, I'm not actually allowed to take a shower by myself without someone in the room talking to me the whole time because I have so many seizures in the shower. I actually have a plate in my jaw from it. Wow. Someone said I do this, but I thought I was alone. No, you're not alone. As you see, we have 85 people who said they have people come running. It's normal. Seizures on an airplane.
Oh,
Uh,
my.
Someone said I had a seizure while at a bus stop alone. I was totally incapacitated and couldn't see a thing, but I could barely hear. I heard 3 different buses come by and asked if I was getting on, but I couldn't speak. No one stopped to help. Bus ran every 30 minutes, so I was on the ground for a good 1 to 1.5 hours before I could see again and to call 911 for myself. Someone said my epilepsy diagnosis was after crashing my car. Apparently, there were about 8 people watching me at the time having a seizure. I'm thankful to hear that nobody was injured. I had just actually dropped off my 2 friends from high school at the airport after they visited me. Okay, nice. I think I could have had seizures longer than I realized. I think the same thing sometimes.
Okay.
I recently started having a lot of seizures, mostly focal seizures. Mostly focal seizures. Quotes everywhere. The past month or so, I had a lot of seizures the past month or so. But I was thinking about when I was younger. In my teen years, they kept testing me for narcolepsy because I'd fall asleep randomly while doing stuff and had cataplexy like episodes. Cataplexy episodes were kind of like this. I'd be doing something and then my muscles would stiffen and I'd drop. It happened a lot when I was anxious. It would be the stiffening and then dropping. and I would never lose consciousness. Dropping and forward. It's worth noting that I have a Chiari malfunction, Chiari malformation that can cause these drop attacks. But to be honest, I have no clue what other people experience, and they were mostly just embarrassing. Also, I ended up not diagnosed with narcolepsy, but daytime hypersomnolence because of something with my medication preventing an accurate reading of results. I don't know. I didn't really care when I was told that.
Okay. Mm.
Someone said, am I a bad person because of epilepsy?
No,
Sucks to hear. No.
no, of course not.
Someone said,
And if you feel bad, I mean, you should obviously get some help. I mean, of course not.
yeah,
Yeah,
reach out to people around you first, or
yeah,
after that, reach out to people, clinical
yeah,
help. Someone said, my dad worries a lot about me, not only because of my seizures, I also make plenty of bad decisions and I don't take enough care of myself. Of course, I don't blame my bad behavior entirely on epilepsy and the things that come with it. My question is if it's common to have a lack of to have a lack of thinking things through among other epileptics, among Kemper and Lamictal. Props to Kemper. I should also mention that I'm 17 and I had I have had bad mental health because of many other reasons. Does epilepsy play a part in my behavior? Yes, it does. Absolutely. Someone says absolutely plays a part. It affects your brain, and depending on where your seizures originate, it could impact poor decision making, but you should never use that as an excuse. You're still young and developing. Make yourself a good person who makes good decisions. Take care of your epilepsy by getting good sleep, staying away from triggers like alcohol, drugs, etc. You'll get through the tough times by taking care of yourself. This is a child we're talking to. So, yeah, I just told her you're not a bad person. We all got to deal with this unique struggle.
yeah,
We'll get through it someday. Some might be longer than more, but okay.
yeah,
Someone says, if my epilepsy can cause extreme depression and anxiety on top of whatever I didn't notice because they're overpowering me. I lose all taste of anything I eat these days. I almost, I need almost a year before they taste good again for some drinks. Imagine how old folks' home smells. Now imagine it as a taste. It's awful. This is what I can catch myself doing. As for minuscule parts, I don't, and I'm sure that there's some I have TLE, complex partials with occasional grand malls. Oh, and some can become angry days, leading to seizures too. It's a unique aura. Look it up. It says, so I'm currently waiting to be seen by a sleep clinic. In the past, I passed out a handful of times and got told by a nurse who saw it once that I looked like I had a seizure. After that, I was only offered a CT scan. That didn't detect anything. That was a long time ago. And thankfully, it hasn't happened whilst I've been awake in a while. What's concerning me most is I think I'm having them in my sleep, and it's gotten to the point where it's nearly every single night, and it's ruining my life. I'll get horribly sharp pain in the side of my head sometimes, and this sometimes will be a short period of time, or sometimes it'll be 2 hours. In the morning after, as a lot of other mornings, I say, mornings I don't wake up until 11. I'll wake up with my head feeling like I've had 5 day bender. My head will feel awful, and I normally always need to go back to sleep because I just can't stay awake. I won't wake up until afternoon. My head feeling horrible, horrible. Usually lasts 2 hours, at least until it somewhat feels normal again. I'll get muscle spasms in my arm and legs, mainly because before falling asleep and after waking up. But I do get them throughout the day sometimes. Last night, I vaguely remember waking up to slight pain in the left of my head, passed out again, and woke up to my mouth in agony on the left side. I can't eat or drink anything without being in pain. I'm pretty sure I bit my tongue in my sleep. This has also happened in quite a few occasions, but sometimes it didn't hurt as much. I've also woken up choking and gasping for air a few times. It just got to the point where this is happening every single night, and I'm not doing much with my time because I spend most of my time sleeping during the day. I feel you. That tired feeling just consumes you.
Have you been diagnosed with anything? Because it sounds like you should look into everything. I mean, uh,
In the comments, someone said they think you're having nocturnal seizures or some major illness.
yeah, you should look into everything clearly. I don't know if you've been diagnosed with epilepsy, but clearly, look into everything. I mean, just always, health is so important. So just, I'm just saying, I don't know if you are an epileptic, but um, just always be thorough.
So, do most epileptics wear a medical identification bracelet or necklace? Someone said I have an epilepsy tattoo across my knuckles with the medical alert simple tattoo on the top of my hand. Paramedics have noticed it before. Well, I thought that was a joke. I'm serious. Huh. Epileptic tattoo bracelet. Someone said, yeah, I wear a medical alert necklace. I can't wear a bracelet since I work in food service. Mine has two pendants, one for epilepsy and one for T1D, since both conditions cause loss of consciousness, confusion, and difficulty speaking. My necklace has a QR code to scan, and it'll put up every bit of info you need.
Okay.
You have a bracelet yet?
Um, I have not worn it in a long time. Um, I think I used to have one when I was a teenager, but no, I hadn't worn one in a long time because my my condition's under control. So um, no,